Al+Mae. We're here tonight in Tyler Teass's kitchen with Ellis and Avett, and he's going to cook a recipe tonight of Flanken Ribs. And tell us a little bit about your business.
Yeah, so I own Al+Mae's out of Crozet, Virginia. We're a private chef service servicing Albemarle County and all the surrounding areas. Named after my two kids, Avett Lee and Al+Mae. We're going to do some Flanken-Cut beef short ribs with a Worcestershire Glaze, some herbs, and a little fried garlic. First things first, we're going to take the Al+Mae beef ribs. These have been Flanken-Cut, which means they've been cut across the bone. You can see the bones there. And they're about 3/4 inch thick. And you each piece is different, which makes this dish really fun. You get all sorts of different muscle groups and different fat layers, and then you obviously get the ribs at the bottom. So we're going to take these and we're going to marinate them in a mixture of a few different things. We're going to do, it's basically all the ingredients that go into like a Japanese eel sauce. So you've got soy sauce or tamari. Tamari works great. Mirin, sake, and a little bit of sugar. And then to make this kind of a little bit different, we're going to do Worcestershire sauce. This is one of my favorite condiments. It was kind of very much like a childhood memory for me. Kind of all meats were marinated in this. For those not familiar with it, it's full of just really delicious things. Molasses, vinegar, anchovies, garlic, cloves, tamarind. So you've got like a lot of like really funky, really sweet, really savory qualities to it that kind of really enhances the beef in this recipe and really adds to the caramelization and the flavor. So it's really simple. So we're gonna just mix up the marinade really quick, throw the beef ribs in. We're gonna marinate this for up to 12 hours and then pull it out. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so the marinade, it's gonna be 1/2 cup of Worcestershire sauce, 1/2 cup of soy sauce or tamari. For all the paleo folks out there, coconut aminos also works well. We're gonna do a 1/2 cup of sugar, 1 cup of mirin, and a 1/2 cup of sake. If anybody's intolerant to alcohol or avoiding it for whatever reason, you could leave this out. It's not a huge deal. I would just bump it up with maybe a little pear juice, apple juice, or a little bit of apple cider vinegar. And this is what you've got. You've got kind of a thick, kind of syrupy marinade. The ribs have been sitting in here for a couple hours so far, and they'll start to break down a little bit. This is based kind of off a traditional Korean dish called galbi. That's soy sauce, sesame oil, pears, ginger, and the whole idea is that we're taking this pretty tough piece of meat, and by slicing it the way we sliced it and marinating it in what we're marinating it in, we're tenderizing it and making it super flavorful. So that's it. So one thing to note with this recipe, I tried a million different ways of just taking this marinade and reducing it down to make the sauce. For some reason, when you reduce Worcestershire sauce too much, it gets really bitter, it gets really astringent, kind of they call the cloves and stuff come out of it, and it's kind of gross. So we made basically a gastrique with Worcestershire sauce, honey, and a little bit of cider vinegar. So it's a different recipe. But it's really simple. It's just, it's a 1/4 cup of honey, 1/2 cup of vinegar, and a 1/4 cup of Worcestershire sauce, basically all cooked down until it's syrupy. And that's kind of what you want. You want basically like a Japanese eel sauce type texture. You want it to be a little thicker than you would think, because once it hits the hot meat, it's going to kind of glaze everything and get super delicious. But yeah, that's it. This is a really simple recipe that you can batch out really easily if you're gonna do a barbecue, if you've got people coming over, or if not during COVID or whatever you might be doing. So it's cool. So we're gonna take these ribs out and just put them on a sheet tray with a rack. If you've got a rack, that's important because there is a lot of fat in these ribs. Like, look at that piece there. That's gonna render out, and you want a rack to facilitate the fat rendering, and so it's not just kind of sizzling in its own fat. And it's a little bit easier to take care of once you're ready to clean up. So just lay them out nice right here. Space them out a little bit. This is a great dish for the grill. Obviously, as the weather turns a little cooler, grilling's kind of less of an option. So tonight we're gonna broil them, and the result's actually really, really good. The quality of this beef is really unmatched, I would say, and it's gonna caramelize beautifully, even just under a couple minutes in the broiler. So get your broiler on high and get your rack not totally right next to the broiler, but kind of the next level down, because you want to give it a little room to not just burn immediately. You want to give it some time to caramelize properly. So we're just going to pop this in here. So we're just going to broil them like this for maybe another minute or so. You see how everything's getting super caramelized, the fat's getting rendered out. Is that snap, crackle, pop? You see this guy? Yeah. So these have been broiled for about 2 to 3 minutes, probably depending on the size of them. You just want to broil them until they get a little bit of color. Some of the fat's rendered out, and kind of the ribs start to pull away a little bit from the meat. This process will be a little bit different for depending on how long you marinate them for. But once they've been pulled out of the broiler or the grill and rested just for a little bit, you want to hit them with the glaze. And like I said earlier, this is honey, Worcestershire sauce, and a little bit of vinegar, kind of all just reduced down until it's nice and saucy. And this is one of those things, like, you kind of, more is kind of better. Like, you're not going to put too much on. I guess you could put too much on at some point, but. So to finish this, we're going to top this with a crumble I've been making that's fried garlic, fried shallots, nutritional yeast, lemon zest, salt, and a little bit of sugar, and just ground up in a food processor. And then we're gonna put some scallions on top. And then some lime zest. And then we'll go to plate it. And then you just kind of layer them out real simply. And enjoy. I'm gonna put it with a little bit of cilantro. So on top. So these are autumn olive Flanken-Cut beef short ribs with a Worcestershire glaze, garlic crumble, a bunch of herbs, and a little bit of lime zest. Thank you guys for having me.